Welcome back, fam. It's your boy, Oliver V, here for round three of our top. Wait, where are we at? Are we at our top 12 of this invitational now, right? I don't even know where we're at. Down below me, we got the one and only Dr. Leo. Doc, how you doing today?
Yo, what is up? It feels good to be back. You know, broke out this suit, got old fancy for you all, just trying to look good and have a good time here. And as per usual, I'm just talking about Tensai, coming in here and just doing Tensai things, and then Care as well. So, I'm feeling good. It's a good day. Got some solid magic going, and the best part is we're not watching any Delver this today.
No, we definitely are not. We have an absolute banger of the matchup. We got our good old boy Tensai, the good old invitational regular here with mono black control. Basically, like borderline Poxy deck, but with the Dark Depths package in it as well. And then we got Care on his four-color Flash Mob deck. I'm not gonna lie, I continually am confused about why Flash continues to be in the name of this deck, but it doesn't matter. We got a nice Night of the Reliquary package, the good old one of deck. I'm so excited to be here today. So we've seen Care play already. He was on stream this last round. Saw him take down Quirios' four-color control deck in a nice 2-0 sweep. Can we talk real quick about Tensai's list? I'm incredibly excited about this thing.
Yeah, so this is pretty much just the Mike Diff special mono black control list. It is like you said, there is the Pox, it is the Pox style. There is the 4x Dark Depths and 4x Vampire Hexmage to steal games. I believe some variants have called this like no bad cards and a couple of other things. But the one card that I want to point towards here that's really interesting to me is the Dothy Voidwalker. I have seen so many lists try to just like leverage this card effectively and fight with this card. And like I've yet to see it do something impressive. But when we look at Care's list, there's a lot of like really good things that you can steal here, as well as just being a just being a Leyline of the Void on the field is going to be really interesting.
Well, that's just it, right? So Care's deck is very much meant to be cycling through lands and being able to get them back again. Whether it's your the one of Drown Yard Temple or the Slogurk, the Overslime, that good old new Innistrad card. But Dothi is going to be this really interesting card, and that it's both going to slow down Care, but then be an alternate win condition, right? Like it's just a 7 turn clock when it's in play, and unless it's removed because of that shadow aspect of it as well as being able to cash in for a good card potentially if we actually get something exiled. For me, the one card that I'm absolutely in love with on this 10 side list is the Turok Dread Cantor, right? That good old Modern Horizons 2 mythic that when everyone was opening up their packs, was like, this is a miss of a mythic. This is not what I was looking for. But man, we get to see it here today. See if we can get that good old 4 mana play to him to Turok somebody and get a nice threat down. I
So
do have to say, no,
we
I'm sorry,
talked
go ahead.
about that we talked about that card quite a bit in the podcast. In a world where in Legacy we're leveraging a lot of white removal right now. You need Source of Plowshares for Murktide region, and then everybody's playing Prismatic Ending as their filler removal. Nobody's playing Abrupt Decay, nobody's playing only the Delver decks are playing the red removal in Pyroblast, Lightning Bolt, and Unholy Heat. But missing like over half of the meta with your removal is just with your protection is actually like really good right now. And I've been on the receiving end on a Turok Dread Cantor, and it's actually like put in some solid work for me versus me. Of course, it got swept up with a Supreme Verdict, but I mean, it's still good.
I mean, it's a body, I guess, right? So the way that I see this matchup going in the game one is honestly, I do really think that Care is going to be advantaged, right? This is a really grindy matchup where I do feel like the Dark Ritual thought sees him to Turok plan and all the IOKs. They're just going to be dead cards when we get to like the late game grind. Maybe not completely dead, but the value on them is just going to be so much lower. And I have to say, I don't think we're going to be seeing a Dark Depths actually go off on Tensai's side whatsoever. We're playing up against this multiple Wasteland deck. Oh, wait, am I getting confused? There are no Wasteland in Care's list, right?
Yeah, I
Man,
was
we've
just
had
about to
so
bring
many
that
Night
up.
of the Reliquary decks today.
There's no wastelands in this list. So Care's list for those haven't been around the Discord is Care. It's their list. Care has been working on this list for a while, and I gotta respect the game. I got lists that are like my list. I spend the time to work on, craft on, and that's what I love. No matter like what people say about it, the difference is this deck's actually good. Like it has this 4-color loam ish like ability where you play like a Maverick deck, which is good threats and very good like threats that have an impact on the board. But you combine it with this wild Modern Horizons 1 card in Astral Drift. this is like this weird like central package that you can win with your knights mates and your land beatdown stuff, or you can just like outvalue your opponent with all sorts of like wild value shenanigans. Like it's a list, and the list does well.
That is really interesting thing. So Astral Drift, of course, is actually able to flicker the opponent's cards. So that is kind of
Mhm.
it is the Astral Drift and the Glacial Chasm that are the real interaction with the Dark Depths combo. If Tensai is able to just go into like turn 2, turn 3, make the 20/20. I
Yeah.
do still really double down on my stance, though, that I do think Tensai in the long game is going to be disadvantaged. And it's
Oh
really
yeah.
going to be all about getting like one or two pieces of interaction to strip key pieces from care and then be able to place down 20/20s, right?
Well,
Hopefully
the
on like
power
that turn 2 through turn 4 in order to actually be able to convert it here.
Yeah, the power of these mono blacklists are all in Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual is the most important card. Or like it accelerates everything. It allows your most powerful explosive turns and such. But turning over here to Kare's deck, we have the one wasteland in the board that could possibly be brought in. But as we saw in the last round, it's just a very good four color pile that is just gonna be playing good threats and like lands that do things. Uh, though I'm curious about the Slowgurk, the Orsun. I haven't seen it in play yet.
That's all I want to see. I just want to see a Slogurk leave the battlefield trigger. I want to see the lands picked up. Give me a reason to buy Slogurks, please, Care. That's the one thing that I really want from you today. Convince me. Convince me that this card is actually reasonable. It's so interesting, right? So whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on Slogurk. As we've seen from this deck, that just is the game plan to be cycling through lands, whether it's the Night of the Reliquaries or the Elvish Reclaimers. Slogurk is getting pumped up during that time. It also has the ability to remove 3 counters and remove it back to your hand, which will trigger the last ability where when it leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target land cards in your graveyard back to your hand, not into play. But the thing that's so amazing about this card, and specifically this deck, is it almost represents another Night of the Reliquary, just absolute beater, right? So you play this down. It's this trample threat that you cycle through. And so you like knight into a fetch land, and Slogurk has gotten 2 counters on it already and is able to just swing in. But the best part is you don't even need to do the bounce plan yourself. You can just let your opponent spend like a Source of Plowshare or removal spell on it and then get mad value from it, just getting back those additional lands, right? So
Well,
you've dealt with my threat. I've already won for ones, but then I'm also going to be getting 3 lands back. And we've seen from Care's deck just how amazing all these individual lands are that you're able to get back, right? It's like,
yeah.
I'll take back my Horizon Canopy right now. That seems good for me.
Yeah, so the ability to, when it says when it leaves the battlefield, you can flicker it with Astral Drift. It's the reason why this deck has become kind of like a cycling deck, a la mid-rangey Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, if you will. It's an interesting pile because of the fact that Astral Drift allows you to flicker out the Slowgurk and then return the 3 lands to hand without having to actually have the 3 counters on it. So there's some value there, and what I think is really interesting is how this deck has started to leverage the cycling more and more because you have 4 Tranquil Thickets in the deck. Uh,
Oh,
like uh,
that is a
like
very, very good point.
you don't see that type of stuff. Like this is a plan that in which Astral Drift is not just a effective 3 mana flicker out an opponent, get rid of a Merit Lady, stuff like that. It's it's sort of like this weird second or tertiary engine here because we have the first engine in Elvish Reclaimer, the second engine in the form of Night of the Reliquary, and then the third engine in the form of this Astral Drift Slogger, the Overslime, also almost doing like a Life from the Loam impersonation without playing Life from the Loam.
And I'll be totally honest. So my one regret about this invitational is that we have no Doomsday player, so we don't get to see Cephalid Coliseum targeting a Doomsday player
Oh,
ever.
oh,
That's all I want. I just want to see a tutor with Knight for Cephalid Coliseum as Doomsday after Doomsday has been resolved. That's all I want, right? But
I've
we're not going to get it. It's okay though.
I've seen not seen I've heard about that recently, and I'm just trying to figure out how to put like Cephalid Coliseum in like so many bad decks now because
You got to
like
have that crop rotation plan, right? You
you
got to have
gotta
the Knights or the Elvish Reclaimer.
Yeah, there's you just gotta have something because honestly, I'm looking for any sort of access against the Doomsday pilots because Doomsday be good.
See, so we saw one of our players earlier playing with a green white depths pile that was splashing red for the pyroblast, right? A lot of green white depths players have been looking for an additional color splash, basically because prismatic ending on 3 is just something that you need to do sometimes. It isn't that necessary against like the broader meta or like the top tier meta, but when you're playing against like a more open field and you run into like, for instance, ensnaring bridge decks, right? Having a way besides your one of Bazooka Bog or your Mox Diamonds to make prismatic ending be able to do X's 3 can be really meaningful sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Um,
we
but
talked about that on the podcast.
there have been some players who have been doing a blue splash essentially just to be able to support Cephalid Coliseum out of the sideboard, or even having Cephalid Coliseum main board. Because in the green white depths matchup specifically, Doomsday is like your biggest fear. The spell based combo is just something that you're
Mhm.
like, all right, well, I need to hope that jamming turn one Deafening Silence / Endurance and Wasteland is enough to win this matchup. But having your crop rotation for Cephalid Coliseum plan can it's pretty tight, I gotta say.
Yeah, I agree with that because of the fact that you do get that miser's go. You get that miser's hit, and something that Doomsday piles aren't prepared for. There, looks like we are having mulligans resolved now.
Yeah, our apologies for
Uh,
a little bit of the delay. So just to put our cards fully on the table, Tensai, one of our international players, right? A lot of our players here on this Discord are kind of NA based, cares over on the East Coast of the United States. Tensai, on the other hand, is over in Dubai, and so to fit the Invitational into his busy work schedule, he actually started off the Invitational at work on a conference table as he's played in a couple of our Saturday events. And then during this, and then did a quick drive home, I do believe, right? So we just needed to make sure he was able to leave the office and actually be able to sit down with us for the rest of the day.
yeah, and we appreciate our players going through so much in order to play in this invitational. And this is a big event for all of us. We really try to emulate and reflect on the community and make sure that everybody has a good time and has a chance to earn their shot at our new playset of bolts. So it's a good time across the board. I'm very happy with how it always goes, and a big shout out to Chaotic Bear for organizing the invitational and the whole mod team. I mean, it's a whole effort from all of us to put forth for this invitational, and like it's so great to see this as continuing on and seeing that there's still continued effort and interest within the community as a whole.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the running joke that we always say is that this is just the culminating event for our community, right? It's that no matter what, this is the day where there are a couple at everyone's going on in chat to be like, hey y'all, it's happening, it's time,
Yeah.
it's finally here. But we do try to make sure that all of our players who are really here for a long haul of a day are able to be comfortable and be able to kind of have fulfill their needs in between rounds, right? Like as anybody can tell you who's been through the full all day grind, it gets pretty taxing by the end. You can ask any of our invitational champions or any of our finalists to say, hey, how are you feeling after this? Everyone is immediately burnt out. The endurance is completely over, and you just need to go to bed afterwards. So we want to make sure people like
If you
can
never
have some supports in the middle.
If you never played plus 6 rounds worth of Legacy, it is brutal from time to time. Like, honestly, hey, there's a lot of mental effort that goes into this, but we're starting it off here. Cares on the play with the higher seed, leading off with Force into Elvish Reclaimer, and this is just like one of the best starts the deck can have.
We're seeing this turn one Thoughtseize. This is what we were talking about the ideal start for Tensai. Starting off with turn one piece of interaction to strip any meaningful piece, kind of know what's
Is
happening.
that a 5? Oh no, it's a Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, once
Um,
upon a time is gone.
I was about to say,
Wait,
is that a no?
no, that's the Astral Drift, right?
Oh, is it the Astral Drift? I think let's get confirmation from our
Yeah.
spotter.
Big thanks to PresBOTW. He was in the boost with you guys last round, along with Beyond Sadistic. He is actually now being the table spotter for this round, down on the floor, letting us know what's happening. And yeah, it was a revealing Astral Drift, Valakut, Vasuva, Trop, and Savannah. So it does get difficult because of this reclaimer that's in play already. This reclaimer represents so many pieces of interaction. The big one, if we're on the Dark Depths plan, is able to go and get Karakas in the slow tutor way. Like, it'll enter tapped, but Tensai is not likely to be swing. Like, for instance, Care can do it, go and get Caracas on this turn right now. Tensai is not going to be swinging in by the time until it is untapped, right? So, man, Reclaimer's a real good card. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Reclaimer is very powerful here, being the fact that it is a effective land tutor, but I think the most important part is the fact that this is gonna turn to a 3/4. A lot of time Pox wants to, leverage its more lower power or bodies to just get over the finish line, just beat you down with 2/2s or 1/1, stuff like that. It's the reason why it used to run, what's it called back in the day? Mishra's factory, or yeah, Mishra's factory, or Mishra's one of those Madlands. But the plan here, I would rather like to see something to get rid of this as Elvish Reclaimer, just because of the fact that it will just take over the game. Having
Yeah.
access to the land tutor, especially with this whole pile of lands in hand, you just can't give Care the time.
No, yeah, and those main board answers that are turn 2 playable are the 2 Fatal Pushes and the 3 Sudden Edicts from Tensai. There are 2 Liliana of the Veils additionally, that would be potentially be able to come down next turn. And we're seeing the Sudden Edict. Perfect. This is exactly what we wanted to see. That Drown Yard Temple at the moment is going to be a little bit of a mistutor, right? Just because it was removed. That, of course, is an amazing engine if the Reclaimer is able to stay in play. However, there is going to need to be another Reclaimer or a Knight and Yavimaya to really start to be able to get the advantage that Drown Yard Temple can represent.
Yeah, and exactly. You're going down a white source on this. There's a lot of good reasons why I'd like to see this sudden edict happening. Kara was hoping to get the value engine established with the value land, and now down. Oh, okay, we do have a white source in the
Yep.
Caracas and a Gaddock Teague, which has little to no play. Yeah, it has no play in the deck. It's just a 2/2. There's nothing over for CMC here, and what's it called? Oh, there's no X spells. So this is literally just as a 2/2.
This Caracas is, of course, completely manageable because Tensai was able to hit one of the wastelands. This is interesting to Thoughtseize because it was known information
Yeah, I think this is a
of all the lands, right?
misplay.
Yeah. Well, it can be confusing at times, right? We do know that the 2 draws were the Caracas and Gaddock Teague, and it's still just that Vesuva, Valakut, and Tropical Island. Um, So this is unfortunate. Of course, we did really want to see we did really want to see a turn 3 Lily coming down, but we do see a push on the Gaddock Teague. Just prevent yourself from losing too much life total. Again, that's just a grizzly bear at a certain point, right? Except it is
Yeah,
also, oh, actually, I do like removing it here just because the Caracas, it being a legendary creature, did mean that it was not going to be removable, that it was just eventually going to win the game if we just wait 8 turns, and the
that's
Caracas being
exactly what I was about to.
permanently up
Yeah,
to protect it. Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I also like wastelanding here. White is a big part of this deck, and the one white source here is wastelandable. Like I
The
actually really enjoy taking them off of that.
The issue is the ability to bring lands back, so, right? So the question is whether or not you hold on to this wasteland, both to be your own mana producing land, right? But then also to be able to wait for the turn that you actually go off with your Dark Depths to be able to hit the Caracas in that moment, right? In that window that'll be relevant. Um, you could strip the white source. I don't know. It's interesting. And what is this coming down right now? Is this
That's a
the
collector
Collector
of.
Oof? Collector Oof. Only hitting Chrome Mox out of Tensai's deck. But again, this is just another 2/2 body.
Yeah. We got a swamp off of the Bob, so it was a free draw.
Ooh, I'm so
I'm
happy to see Bob in play right now. Oh, talk about a card that has been completely beaten out of the format, right? And I guess out of modern as well, right?
Here's the kicked. Here's the kicked Turok.
Oh, we hit 2 lands. We hit the unknown card and the Vesuva. The Vesuva is quite relevant because of the Valakut that is in play, right? So it's going to prevent it is going to prevent the Vesuva being able to copy the Valakut, which will be big if we actually are able to hit the 1 Dryad or the 4 Green Sun Zeniths, right? We saw in this last game against or not against Dalibor, against Quirios, just how good the Valakut Dryad package is, right? In terms of just like winning out of nowhere. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you got 4 Baleful Strix in play. It doesn't matter. Oh, and we see crop rotation. Okay.
Oh, hold on. How is this? Yeah, I was about to say, like, you can't pay for the crop rotation with the Caracas.
So what do we get here? We could go and get Horizon Canopy. Go and get Could go and get other Vesuva if we really wanted. Uh, Cephalid Coliseum alternatively is on if you want to just be like cycling through. Um, hmm.
I also don't hate when I'm looking here. I don't hate just grabbing Yavimaya Critical Growth. Like
It does.
it fixes
It
your mana,
does.
allows some other shenanigans to happen.
You're pretty
Ooh.
good on green sources. What it really does for you in this situation is if you are able to draw Knight or you decide that you want a green start for Knight, it means that you can then start really accruing advantage with Drown Temple. Or I'm sorry, the Drown Yard Temple. Instead, going for the Cephalid Coliseum line, Threshold is activated. So on the following turn, Care will be able to the draw 3, discard 3 if he chooses to. Or I'm sorry, if they choose to. Um,
Yeah, I really do like this. Unfortunately, the Turok can be bounced with the Caracas. Being the fact that it is legendary, the Caracas is just a colorless land, doesn't give protection. But I do not like the feeling of bouncing a repeatable Hinbiturok to my opponent's hand. That just feels really bad.
What's interesting about it is that what it's going to do is it's going to make it so Care is never able to hold up multiple cards in hand. This is not like some of Care's previous builds of this deck that did actually have flash threats that wanted to be held up. See Hull
Oh,
Breacher, and I believe there was a moment in time where Care was playing like Rankle and other cards in this deck as well
yep.
that were just being held in for a little bit later. We are at the point in the game where Care is never going to be priced into. Oh, yep, absolutely correct to get rid of the Collector Oof and not get rid of the
Yeah.
Knight.
One true low. Oh, and congratulations on the bingo board. Hit it, place it
Oh,
in the Discord, and ooh.
both sudden edicts. We've seen all three sudden edicts this game. Removing two Elvish Reclaimers and getting a Collector Oop out of the way to make the third sudden edict able to hit where it was necessary. And Bob is beating him, baby.
I also want to see a wasteland here. I want to see a wasteland on either the tropical or the Crocus. I just start going to town, start teeing off.
You are a bit more free to spend this wasteland now, right? So you don't need to be holding the wasteland for if Caracas is brought back and you are trying to do the 2020 plan. However, at the same time, yes, guys, that was two edicts in the same turn after we had
Double
seen
edict.
the initial edict on turn 2.
Yo, I have to say, so Sudden Edict has been a huge hit for a lot of non-white decks. So, for instance, I play Pest Control. My blue-black control list with Setchmore Witch, and I run it as a 2 of because somehow I gotta get rid of a Murktide region. I got Fatal Pushes and other sort of stuff, but I can't get rid of a Murktide region without it.
Sudden Edict definitely looks a lot better at the time that it was printed than it does currently, in my opinion, right? So at the time, the Dark Depths deck of choice was the Rainbow Depths, where the vast majority of the time when you went Merit Lodge, it was your only creature. The issue is now the Dark Depth decks are typically not in this tournament, but typically only the green white depths deck. That's like in the top 8 of the metagame. I know I'm really big on that deck. And the vast majority of the time, the Edict is only just a 2-mana removal spell to go ahead and eat like a turn 1 Reclaimer. It's very rarely ever going to hit the Merit Lodge unless there's like a fringe situation where like it's a race matchup and I'm going for just turn 3 2020 with no creature in play, right? Um, it's a little marginal. It doesn't look as good as it did originally, but man, it being an uncounterable edict still means it's pretty good in a lot of situations, right? It's still just like hands down the best one. Just unfortunately isn't as good in the metagame as it was additionally initially looking.
Oh yeah. So, what I like to see, what I want to point out here with this matchup is that Care and Tensai both have hit this point where Care is there's no removal in this deck. There's no Swords of Plowshares. There's no Prismatic Ending. There's nothing like that. This is a deck that relies on the creatures doing what the creatures can do. With that, Tensai has removed everything, just like removed every single threat that Kara has put on the board. There's no catch up mechanics here. There's no Sylvan library. The catch up mechanics are cycling. And I'm looking at this now and I'm just like, wow, like unless Care is able to top deck a creature that can be played and can stick on the board, Care might be run out this game. And
Your
this
your catch-up
this
mechanic in this deck specifically is going to be the Valakut Dryad.
yeah,
That is
exactly.
your way to remove creatures. It's really interesting. I'm like, oh, and we're seeing Green Sun. I imagine X is 3 here, or is this X is 1 to go and get Elvish Reclaimer? I honestly have to
No,
like
X is
bite my
3.
tongue. Yeah, okay, sounds good. We're either going to get Knight or going to get Dryad here, I imagine. Could potentially get Slowgurk as well. We're gonna have to see what the
But
decision is here.
you're also searching this in the face of a face-up Fatal Push. Fatal Push was revealed off of Bob, and you don't have an extra land drop in hand.
So
What
it
is
does
this?
look
Oh,
that's
it's
it does look like that's why we're getting Slowgurk. This is where it gets quite interesting, right? This is kind of exactly what we were afraid of when we were talking about potentially wastelanding the Caracas. That was that was one of the cards in the matchup that was going to matter, both specifically
mhm.
because it was going to make it so your whatever, your him to Turok creature, whatever it's called, it was not going to be able to swing in, and it was also preventing the 2020 plan. Slowgurk specifically was the reason not to wasteland, and Green Sun for 3 into the Fatal Push. It's the only choice. You don't get Dryad here unless you have a land dropped and to be able to bolt something immediately. Um,
Yeah, but
and
this
so
Slowgurk's
this is
just
just
gonna
it.
die.
Well, the
This
Slowgurk's
Slowgurk
going to die, but it's going to get 3 lands back. It's going to get
true.
the Cycling
True.
Land, likely the Caracas, and probably the Vesuva, I would imagine, would be the 3 lands to come back. Are there 2 Cycling Lands in there right now? I think there
I think
might be.
there's
So maybe it's
2.
2 Cycling and Caracas.
And
Um,
Miser's not Urborg, Miser's Bajuka Bog in this list.
but I
Ooh,
but
Turok.
I'm really having to bite my words. So this is also interesting. So now you can wasteland to do the wasteland to get revolt active. You can fatal push and then him to Turok immediately to make it so there's only one of the random lands is getting back. Um, but again, what ooh,
Or you could
Lily?
just slam a Lily.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you Oh, all right, hear me out. I think what's right here is do this exact line that we've talked about. Oh no, because you can't wasteland and cast him to Turok right now. So yeah, I guess it is just Edict, and then
You can
let
still
Care
cast
choose the
into
lands.
Turok with the Urborg on the field.
No, yeah, I was talking about the line that I was hoping we'd be able to do would be Wasteland to turn on Revolt, Revolt hit the Slowgurk, and then him and Lily up to take all 3 of the lands that Slowgurk was
Oh, I
taking back,
see. I
just to
see.
eliminate all the value. But we are seeing 2 Tranquil Thickets and Caracas. Yep,
Ooh, there's a
kind of
little
what
bit
we
of
were
value
expecting.
left on the table here because you could have gotten in for 2 additional damage, if you himmed before damage. That forces the discard on 2 cards and bumps up the, Turok up to a 4/3? Yeah,
That's it's super interesting because Tensai is not choosing to him at all. Is choosing to hold up, push, and wasteland.
I think, I would have much rather have seen because you're putting much more pressure in addition to, not allowing the free cycles. They're only gonna get 1 free cycle.
Pair
If you
choosing
would
to crack Cephalid Coliseum here at end of turn. This I really like this a lot. These 3 lands that you have in hand means you actually can keep some of these cards.
yeah, you can discard
Turok is
2.
about to get really big though. We gonna
Yeah,
be Turok about to be 5 power.
Turok's
This
about to
Caracas
get
cannot be
batty.
discarded. This Caracas has to stay in hand to be a land that is played.
If because the trigger goes on the stack after the discards happen, so I wonder if okay, we see Bajuka Bog. We see. Okay, they didn't discard the Caracas. Otherwise, I would just lost my mind.
What's super interesting about this game is when we went into it, I was thinking, all right, Care has the advantage in the long game. Care's creatures, if they stick, are just going to be insane. The Elvish Reclaimer, the Knight of the Reliquary. But what we've seen here is Tensai hit actually all 5 removal spells, right? Because we had the initial
Yeah.
push, the 3 edicts, and this other gnome push in hand, which has just mean that like he's been able to have this incredible long game advantage, drawing 3 cards a turn with the Bobs. We're seeing Uvenwald Tracker come down. Now this is a card most Legacy players are not aware of. The good old Avacyn Resort fight creature, 1 mana, 1/1 human that is able to do 1 and green tap to make 2 creatures fight each other, I believe. But this is not a normal card that we see in Legacy. But the things that you can do with Green Sun Zenith in your deck.
Yeah, I have long questioned this card in the cares list. It has like persisted for quite a while, so it's one of those things that I don't know how I feel about this, but it is still just like one of those very good cards that just can do some things, but you need a board for it, and unfortunately, we're just not seeing that. And this Turok has 3 counters on it.
With a Caracas in play, right? So it is not actually going to be attacking in. Or I mean, it will attack in. It is not going to be dealing damage.
Yeah, I mean, but you still gotta like represent it. And yeah, I would definitely 100% be wastelanding here on end step to force the action on the Caracas.
I
Okay, we're
forget
seeing a cycle.
cycling triggers it as well, right?
Cycling triggers it as well. So
I
that
like
was just
doing
a
that here then.
yeah, yeah. And then the wasteland goes to the yard. All right, let's see what this Bob reveals. Vampire Hex Mage
Okay.
goes down to 11. And then what's the other Bob gonna reveal?
Oh,
Thank
damn,
you, Dan.
this is absolutely a grind. This is fascinating though. I haven't seen Dark Confidant be this good in an incredibly long time. 2 Hex Mages.
Ooh. Ooh, that's some damage.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of you can't complain about it too much in this deck, right? Like there is an absolute glut of 2 drops in between the Dothies, the Hex Mages, the Confidants, and your like Hymns
Yeah.
and Sodic Edicts. But going down
Okay.
to 9 here, you still are advantaged in this race.
I still want to
Care
discard
has Care has how many cards in hand?
1.
Is it 1? Okay, so
That's 1.
Liliana's coming up to eat it.
I really like play Turok plus up Lily. A oh, we're seeing Hex Mage.
Yeah, I like playing if we're gonna
Yeah,
play Turok
definitely.
as a 2/1, it might just be better to be playing out the Hex Mage. Hex Mage both makes it so a Dark Depths on your side is more relevant.
Yeah, I
And then
agree.
if
And
if
then
it's a 2/1 body anyway.
yeah, you have a free discard as well with Turok or what was the discard? It's getting a little bit off
This
camera at
card
this point.
was other, I believe that was other Cycle Land. I think that was the
The
second
second one.
Tranquil Thicket.
Okay. Attack for 4. I still why didn't he play the Turok ahead of time? Oh, there's gotta be how many removal spells are left?
There is
Well,
1
we've seen
removal spell on
3.
Tensai's side. There is a
No,
single Fatal Push left, right?
no, 2 Fatal Push, 3 Sudden Edicts.
Oh, yeah, we
So,
spent the second Fatal Push, right? On the Slowgurk.
yeah. Okay, so no, just wants to deploy the Vampire Hex Mage over anything else. Dryly Legion Grove does nothing. It's just a 2/3 or 2/4?
It is a 2/4. However, it does represent a fight to eliminate a creature. Um, Lethal is technically stopped here, right? Well, no, because
Mm,
there's a if
you could just
Liliana
down tick
down
with
tick.
Lily.
Yeah. All right.
All right. All right. Going down to 7. Okay.
And Swan.
Next one's a land. Okay. Casual Ancestral Recall. Take 2 damage on your draw step. No big deal.
So great.
I so I do like a down tick here because you know you're getting the tracker because
Yeah, and
Karen might fight.
the tracker will remove no matter what. It's going to be able to fight one of the creatures, but doing this now prevents another creature from being blocked, right? So if you just
Yeah.
attack into this without doing the Liliana proc first, what they can do is they can block, activate, and only one creature gets through. The one thing is that waiting to do it then means that you're able to clear the board of the Dryad as well.
Mhm. Okay. I also like this as well because this gives Lily last hope. Oh wait, no, it's two minus
And
two
we're
minus
just
one.
conceding.
Yep. And looks like Care is packing it up here. All right then. So Tensai taking game one.
All five
Very well done.
all 5 of the removal spells showing up in that game, which was incredibly massive and
The,
basically making this game avoid the path that we kind of thought that it was going to happen, right? If Care just has a single creature actually stick, namely the Reclaimers or the Knights, then it was going to be able to kind of take over the long game. But Tensai able to just disrupt the resources enough and be swinging it in with the Dark Confidant 2/1 beatdown plan in the end. That was quite a game. Let's jump on into sideboards.
yeah, okay. So let's take a look at Care's pile because it's going to be on the play for this next round. So for this next round, we have 1 Wasteland, 2 Containment Priests, 1 Outland Liberator, which we saw was very good. 3 endurance, 2 nimble obstructionist, 2 force of vigor, and 4 mind break trap. What do you like in here?
Well, the Wasteland is an easy gamey in this, right? So we haven't really talked about this. The players have open deck lists. They're fully aware of their opponent's decks. Can't access it during rounds, but able to look at it before and after. Just because you know that this is the potential of having like a turn 2 Dark Depths plan, you do want to be bringing in the Wasteland just as a crop rotation target to make it so you can disrupt. The only other card that I think is really a possibility at all is the Nimble Obstructionist. The Mind Break Trap isn't what you want to do. Force of Vigor is not going to be hitting anything. You already know that there's no ley lines. I don't even think you do bring it in out of fear of ley line. I think that you can just win through that anyway. But the Nimble and Obstructionist, I think, are the cards that you could potentially be bringing in, basically countering Planeswalker activation, Hex Mage Sack, um, technically a Dothy Void Walker one as well. But I think that also it just being a 3/1 flyer will be relevant in this matchup as well. The question is really what you bring out. Um,
That was my
yeah.
question for you is like, okay, what do you think about bringing it out?
I think Safekeeper is pretty easy to bring out in this matchup. While it is good in certain situations and having access to it with the Green Sun Zenith is potential, I think that that is a good is a potential slot that can be taken out. Additionally, I do wonder about Noble Hierarch in this deck a little bit, right? Where these games are going so much longer that I think you're able to take some slower hands, especially with how many land drops you're able to make. You have 27 lands in the deck. I think that the Noble Hierarchs are a potential slot for you to take out as well. Where you're in this matchup, you don't need to be as explosive, like against like a combo deck, for instance, being able to slam one of your turn 3 permanents and play on turn 2. I think that you're able to take a little bit of a slower approach to it. So I think that those are really the easiest slots. Oh, and Collector Oof. Like Collector Oof is just an easy takeout. It only hits Chrome Mox, and then it potentially can hit Ratchet Bomb if that's coming in. But I don't think that's enough reason for you to be keeping in the one of Gaddock Teague in my mind. Scrib Ranger's just good with Knight. I think that stays in as well. But do
Well,
you don't think
the
that
key,
Cavern is potentially taken out, right? I often
yeah,
in
I
my
would
like
say
in
that.
my decks that are up at like 28 lands, I very often like take down one or two. I think Cavern's a potential slot that can come out as well. The question is how much Care actually feels that he's able to, or that they're able to take out lands. My apologies there.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement. I think you could cut like things like, the one of or 10 on Cavern Souls. It is a 5 color land, but you're gonna be green white anyway, splashing blue, so it's not really like that important. I do think that you can trim down on that, but I think Gaddock, there's no reason to have it in the deck. It's not gonna hit anything. It's not
Oh,
gonna
that's
do
true.
anything.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I
I totally
think
missed the Gaddock Teague.
Teague is just gonna just go. It's just straight into the board. But coming into Tensai's board, Tensai's got some like actually some solid plays here. We got 2 surgical extraction, 1 dampening sphere, 2 feed the swarm, 2 null rod, 1 ratchet bomb, 2 torpor orb, 2 Ashiok dreamrender, 1 opposition agent, and 2 plague engineers. I like these whole bottom like 7 cards are just bangers across the board. Torpor Orb does a lot of job shutting down the value of the deck. I don't think it's essentially necessary right now, but it is a possible if you have cuts. I love Dreamrender, Opposition Agent, and Plague Engineer against this deck though.
I
Like,
am I'm really big on Feed the Swarm as well for this matchup, right?
oh yeah, just
We
extra
saw
removal is
we
solid.
saw how important having the removal for the key pieces that prevent Care from going into the long game grind was, and so I absolutely love bringing Feed the Swarm here as well.
Rugger AI. I'll point to the Storm player right now. Just there's the Storm player. But yeah, I think Ashiok and Opposition Unit has special value because this entire deck functions off of tutoring out lands. Elvish Reclaimer or Night of the Reliquary, all those have plays here, and then especially with Ashiok being able to downtick and just dome your graveyard and also knock off 4 cards, then those 4 cards could be so impactful. Like, I think Tensai's board here is like strangely prepared for Karen's list, and I wonder if Tensai crafted the board with that in mind.
I think so. It's really interesting going into every single invitational. This isn't something we've really talked about today. So when you go into the invitational, you have a week of advance of knowing every single one of the opponents. You know who your round 1 opponent is going to be, and you know what it's going to be. So for instance, You go in saying, I know for sure I'm playing against this person in round one. Round two, I'm playing against this person or this person. And so you're able to really craft your 75 to be meeting what you expect from each individual player. These players have been playing on our server for at least 3 months. That's how long the invitational season's been happening. And so a lot of people are kind of known quantities. Care is one of those players who is what I would like to call a charbel, in that you know exactly what they are going to be bringing to the table, right?
Truth,
Care is
truth.
Care is not a Tensai. Tensai, every single invitational has been known to completely upend everybody, right? So suddenly come with Sneak and Show. Suddenly come with Elves after never having been seen play it before. And this one, bringing Mono Black depth slash pox control. Where it when there are known quantity players, whether it's Charbel on Allurin, Care on this 4-color Flash Bob pile, or whatever deck specialist it happens to be, our resident Ruby Storm players, right? It's a lot easier to craft your deck, right? So you end up with invitationals like our infamous Season 2 invitational where Torpor Orb was being brought in.
Everywhere.
Also, may I just point out, I would just like to say this. Sometimes these invitationals, they show us tech that's going to come along later, right? We had so many Torpor Orbs showing up in our Season 2 invitational, and then you look 6 months later and it's like, you know what card is spiking a little bit?
Oh,
Torpor Orb.
I messed up.
Ooh,
I didn't get
ooh,
mine at
would
the
have
time.
thought. Anyway, we see Care here on the play, going with the turn 1 Noble Hierarch. Have that little bit of mana advantage, going to be able to slam a turn 2 Knight of the Reliquary potentially.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
oh,
Rituals.
that is a pretty gorgeous dark ritual.
What?
I definitely have had a judge called on me at my local game store for me accidentally bringing those dark rituals, our lovely MTGPL proxies, rather than an actual dark ritual. But here at our events, that is a totally legal card. That is one of our MTGL proxies, one of our prizes for winning our events. Man, I love that dark rit so much.
Okay, so there's a lot of turn one Dark Ritual plays. Like I was saying, Dark Ritual is gonna be one of the most one of the best cards in this matchup because of the fact that it just allows you for these really explosive plays. Something that as we see, Kara can only be doing with a dork. So seeing this turn one Lily to get rid of the dork, just gonna grind your opponent to the dust, force him to go down on cards. I think we're going to see a Tensai just grind Care down on this one unless Care is able to establish a fast and effective clock.
Yeah, the turn 1 Lily plan is actually quite incredible, where what you're able to do now. So even after just a single turn, what Care really needed to do was like slam a turn 2 play. Basically, the Script Ranger is the only thing that we're actually expecting to be in post board. But you needed to get a threat onto the table that can keep this Lily off of the sack effect. Where now, because there was this turn off, you were able to hit the Noble Hierarch on turn 1 and then start going up. Now Care can't play a single threat, like can't just go turn 3 Knight of the Reliquary, because if the threat is good enough, it'll just get edicted off the table. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's Dryad.
That is
Ooh,
scary. There are
ooh.
no
Oh,
ways to bring back creatures in this deck. There is no
well,
Eternal Witness. So this Dryad is gone.
if you
Oh,
have
interesting.
Dothy, why don't you play that before you plus?
I guess to keep the information unknown. However, there is the potential
Yeah,
of you being able to just, if Kara is going to discard a land, you do want to actually have the Delthian. It's far less of a deal when that is exiled Kara. We'll go
yeah,
ahead and
Care,
have make
that's
sure our table
exile.
spotter knows that Caesari Step is in exile because the Dothy being in play. Really, it's the lands being that are getting exiled that is what is most important.
Oh yeah,
And all these
all
cards are
those,
getting exiled.
all those are
We'll
getting
go ahead and make
exiled.
sure Pres BOTW make sure that the Caesari Step, the crop rotation, and the Windswept Heath are all in exile. And
Yeah,
can we just say we talked a little bit about Chaotic Bear, the individual behind this this individual behind this invitational. But we also want to thank everybody who's kind of helping out on the sidelines. So me and Doc right now, we get to be on the front. Everyone knows that we're doing it. We already get the thanks. But big thanks to Mr. Jack Dax, who's our streamer, streaming through all of these rounds. Going to be sitting at his computer for an extended period today. And then our spotters who are rotating in. We've had Pie Boy in for the first 2 rounds. Prez has jumped down there to be able to help us out for this round. And we'll be having Astrid helping us as well later on. So big thanks to everybody behind the scenes who's really running this event and making sure it can happen. I do like this fetch for Dryad Arbor because this is what we were talking about in terms of wanting to be able to pressure the Liliana. And we have Slogurk.
ooh, is that the Slowbro?
Okay. We really need to make sure that these get exiled.
Yeah, we need to make sure that those lands are exiled. Oh, is Dothy? Does Dothy not care about lands? If a card would be put into the opponent's
Oh,
graveyard from anywhere.
oh, okay. So this is super relevant. We missed this. This was all done. The crack into the fetch land and the fetch was all done with the
Oh, Dothy
Dothi
on the stack.
Voidwalker on the stack.
Oh,
That is
okay.
totally on us. This is one of those things where we just see it go and play and see hands move run. We're like, okay, that resolved.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, then. So Care is not cheating. So, oh, when we see this Slowgurk though, this Slowgurk is not going to grow because Slowgurk does require for a land to be put into the graveyard from anywhere. So this is going to just stay 3/3 from now on.
What it does do is it's going to be threatening the Liliana. That's the real thing that it's here to do. It's just here to be a 3/3 beater that is going to be unblockable by the shadow creatures and make it so the Liliana is going ahead and being removed. Inquisition is still in.
Oh, gets
What
an
does that hit?
Overwall Tracker. I do believe that was off the top of my head.
The good old one mana fighter. What this is able to do is either Tensai can play a blocker to protect the Liliana, or can make the choice to go ahead and remove the can go ahead and decide to remove the Slowgurk if he so chooses to. But I can't imagine we're going to be making that line. I think we can just safely get rid of the Liliana. But
Yeah,
I'm not so sure.
I have no problems just down ticking because you get a Dryad Arbor, and it's essentially just a wasteland. Um, you're gonna you're going to get the hey Dryad Arbor to off the board. In addition to Slither doesn't grow, and you could just take three. You don't care because
Yeah,
you're
the
you
Yeah, the only value that Slogurk was actually going to be giving in this game, because you're losing the race with it itself, was removing the Lily. So just capitalizing and getting as much value on the Lily as you can before it's going to die anyway makes a ton of sense.
yeah, and your choice is okay. Would I rather have the what's called the Horizon Land, the Horizon Canopy, or would you rather have the Lily on the board? Uh,
Yeah, it looks like we have some tanking going on at the moment.
yeah.
Sacking the Slogurk.
Ooh, sacking the Slowgurk.
I like this a lot.
Well, this
You
is what
get
we were talking about in that Kara's deck has to has to rely on land velocity. So
and
yeah, and
thank goodness Slogurk is a leaves the battlefield trigger and not a dies trigger.
yeah, leaves not a dies. But still, even then, I'm looking at this. This as Dothy's going to start clocking. Care has two lands in hand with the possibility of a single redraw, and on top of all of that, there's still the threat of your opponent can now just play a Slogurk from anywhere.
So let's see. There's a Horizon Canopy draw.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where that fast Lily is just gonna just taking care off of everything. Yeah, and we're seeing the desperation crack here because it's the only time you're gonna be able to crack that Horizon land. And I
Really,
think yeah,
what
this
this is. Oh, okay. We see an Elvish Reclaimer, which is massive. This Reclaimer is going to be a 1/2 for the rest of the game. However, it just being able to go ahead and sack away on the lands. Did we pass without playing a land drop? Or
no,
no,
the
the
Horizon
Horizon Canopy was
Company.
the land drop. Okay.
Yeah. So Tensei gonna take two off of the Bob. And if there's a removal spell, I think that might just be the end. Because if you can remove the Reclaimer, I really do think that might just be GG's.
They're
And
showing
yeah,
us the Exile Zone using a deck box
yeah,
to signify it. We greatly
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, definitely. Just because that is information that Tensei can use at any point. And if we're talking about like bringing in the extra removal, like we're assuming that Tensei did, and bringing the feed the swarm, there's a lot of answers for this, and I think that we might see Tensei just try to either dig for a removal spell or just I think we're just going beats here. I think beats is the way to do it as well. You don't care a single thing that this Bob trades for.
I mean, it's advantage for you at this point.
Yeah, and
moving
you know
either
there's
the
another
land in
pop
play or
later on.
removing the tutor. I imagine that this is all going to crack in. So you're getting in for a good 5, turning it to a 4-turn lethal with the Dauthi Voidwalker by itself.
Yeah, I like this.
And the crazy thing is, this Voidwalker is unremovable at this point because the two ways to get it off the table, the Dry of the Elysian Grove and the Uvenwald Tracker are all gone. Those are the only two ways that Care has to remove creatures main board. Or, I'm sorry, even after post board. There is technically Astral Drift to like buy a turn. However, that's not actually going to be a permanent removal. So this is quite difficult. There is technically Glacial Chasm as a way to prevent this from getting you eventually.
Yeah, but
But
even then, you can't do the glacial chasm tricks with it, where you'd sacrifice it and such like that, because Dothy's just gonna steal it.
you can technically do you can technically exile or you can flicker in response, right? Am I recalling correct that Astral Drift is a slow flicker and not an immediate
It's a
flicker?
slow flicker. Yeah.
So you can
Uh,
technically Maze of Ith, then when you go to sacrifice it at your own upkeep, you can cycle uh and then have that wait, and you'll cycle even if the cycled card goes into exile, right? I'm recalling that correctly. So
uh,
that is actually something
discarding.
that'll happen.
I think discarding is a part of the cost. Ooh, Himdatrok's so good here. When you could turn a Himdatrok into something like any creature. Oh, there it is. Ashiok. That's it. That's GG's.
This knight is going to be incredible. You get a single activation with the knight. I'm sorry, not the knight, the Elvish Reclaimer now.
Yeah, this is just gonna be GG's. This Ashiok is just gonna completely shut down the entire game. Kare's entire plan revolves around tutoring and searching out from the board. So I think this might be a oh, okay. Oh, I like this. Yeah, you have enough mana plus the Urborg to him to truck and then uh play the Ashiok.
That's absolutely correct. So even if you're just hitting land drops, flip them over or roll some dice. Let's see what these random cards are going to be.
Ooh, ooh, this is nasty. So 5, 6, that's the one you keep. Discard him and Yavimaya. Oof. Yeah, get
Oh,
those
you hit two
exiled.
land drops.
Get those exiled.
Oh, this shadow creature going all the way. So for those at home, the account MTG Paper Legacy in chat right now, that is Mr. Jack Dax. Dathi Voidwalker is probably Mr. Jack Dax's go-to card at this point. Just the amount of times I have tried to get Mr. Jack Dax to take Dathi Voidwalker out of decks or ping it down or like take it down from a 4 of, right? So I am sure that he is sitting at his computer right now just chuckling away about how great this Voidwalker has been
This
in this
card is
match.
so good right now. This card
I
is just
mean,
doing everything that everybody was afraid of it would be doing. It's taxing the yard. It's basically a true name nemesis and the fact that it can't be blocked. And you're just gonna just completely just take over this game. Like, it's so good.
you have a single
Oh,
sack choosing
you
to get
sack
rid of a
yeah,
cavern.
sack the cavern soul.
This does make it that Slowworks off the top are uncastable because that was your blue source with it
Yep.
on ooze. However, that depends really on what you choose to get here. Um,
Yeah, what are you
hear me
grabbing?
out. Hear me out. I don't think you downtick with Ashiok. I think that you have enough. You don't care about what's being like the toolbox aspect is removed. Most of the potential ways to catch up. So again, the Valakuts don't matter. The Vesuvas don't matter. Um,
I
I
agree.
don't think I think it's just better to keep it at 5 so you're able to keep swinging in and you can take some hits on it before you have to block with your Dark Confidants.
Yeah, I fully agree.
What are we
I
getting?
think right now Ashiok is better just as like essentially just as a static effect, a static enchantment. Yeah, Vesuva, where are we copying?
It has to be Dried
Dried
Arbor,
Arbor.
right? It has
Dried
to be getting
Arbor.
Dried Arbor to go and eliminate this Ashiok. Yeah, you don't downtick here.
Yeah. You don't down tick, you hold back your bobs, just get in with the Dothy Voidwalker. Bob's done their job. You just trade those off. Yeah, I like this. I like this. You just don't down tick. And then your
As a
opponents
depth
are
player and a Titan player in Modern, I have so much empathy for Care right now. See, looking at an Ashiok that you have to be in ultimate desperation mode to try to eliminate is just terrifying. Is
No,
doing
actually
down tick?
copy the dark depths. Do we have
Interesting.
do we have a we don't have a stage here.
No, it's a slow ice off, right? That's the only way to do it. Yeah, this is an interesting line. We are going for the exile. Looks like we are hitting a Green Sun Zenith, which is a good hit to get. Thicket, Grove, Green Sun Zenith, and another Grove. So 3 cycling lands, which is good to get, I guess.
Oh, oh,
I'm
no
just choosing to
fear.
swing in.
Just getting in. You got to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, you have at least 1 turn with this Ashiok still in play.
Yeah, because there's only 2 damage on the field. Yeah, Dothy doesn't cast. It has to cast the spell. So lots of lands and stuff like that. But I mean, you don't care. This is a 3/2 unblockable. It's a true name nemesis. Yeah, I think Care's only rip here that might give them any amount of time is quite. I don't know. There was already we already had the activation. Didn't go for the glacial chasm. Like I don't think there's a single rip that Care can have. Yeah, I think just Knight just to be bigger, but even then you're just gonna just keep on just knocking it down with the Dothy, the 3/2.
Oh, and according to our table spotter, just the conversation about being shadowed, that might not have been realized until this point. Seeing Gaia's Cradle, that is a mishit.
Yep.
You can't attack in with both because you need to have both black back as blockers on the Dark Confidants.
Yep. Yep. This Ashiok is just wrapping it all up. We recently had a discussion on the Discord talking about like Ashiok's place if it's still like playable in Legacy right now. And just because the effect and like on when the effect is good, the effect is backbreaking. There's
It's
no there
it's interesting in the greater Legacy metagame because it specifically needs to be paired with Dark Ritual, right? Because what you want to do is you want to be deploying it on turn 1 to make it playable against decks like Doomsday, where playing it on turn 3 against most decks isn't going to be good enough. For instance, you go against Green White Depths and you're playing this thing that's preventing their like toolboxy plan, but it's incredibly likely that they're just going to be able to get you with their green white creatures at like the Maverick aspect of the deck. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree completely. There's just so many like small aspects of and like let's be real here. Like how we talked about at the very beginning. Dark Ritual makes everything in this deck.
Man, choosing to go ahead and
Oh, there's the
exile
astral. Oh, 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 that was a
2 Astral
hit.
Drifts. Those are your
Oh,
ways to stall additional turns.
that's exactly my thought.
There's only 1 left in the deck that can be a stall. Maze of Ith is technically a stall for a single turn. At this point, attack in, you have to block both of the bobs.
Yep. Which both the mobs will be trading off here.
Oh, Hovercraft is definitely like it definitely has play against green white. What I mean is it isn't a lockout card against them. You get what I mean? Which is why you turn oneing it
Ooh,
is so key, I think, in terms of making it
endurance.
like actually good against a good part of the metagame.
Endurance. That's good. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. Targeting 10 size board.
yeah.
I mean, it's going to block one of the Bobs profitably and be able to attack in to kill the Ashiok, assuming that like Tensai doesn't have any piece of removal. There's
Well,
two unknown cards.
this is actually very relevant. So you can block 2 bobs with keeping Elvish Reclaimer alive. Go down to 1, and then you have a tutor. You swing with Elvish, or you swing with Endurance, and then are able to activate Reclaimer.
Yeah. So if Care doesn't block the second Bob there, Care's dead. Care's at 4.
Yeah, it has to be a block on the second one. I think that it has to be Dryad Arbor that you block with here.
Yeah. And looks like, yeah, removing an ice counter from the dark depths.
I'm just going to point out that if we had not down ticked with the Ashiok on those 2 turns, We wouldn't have to worry about losing it at all here.
I mean, yeah, but your opponent's going down to one. You have an oh casual dark depths,
Oh,
casual 2020, and a
yeah, you just
second
do this now.
unblockable threat, and I think that's GG's. Two unblockable threats plus a 2020 at will. Your only hope is to rotate into Glacial Chasm, which that gives you a single turn, and then
But you can't rotate into Glacial Chasm now because that Ashiok isn't going to be able to get through.
oh yeah, yeah,
Or that Ashiok isn't going to be removed because you can just block with Hex Mage and then activate to make the 2020 at that point. This seems firmly locked up.
yep,
Man,
yep, yep, yep.
what a really, really interesting game. And this went completely against what I was really expecting in this matchup, where actually, I guess this is what in the beginning we said what we needed to see was like good early disruption on Tensai's side to be able to kind of grind through the long game and prevent Care from doing any long game grind plans, and that's what happened in both games. We had game one, all 5 removal spells coming out, and on this one we had turn one Liliana into a Dothi Voidwalker that was just in play for the entire game,
Just
and
completely took over the game.
also just like removed the 2 actual catch-up mechanics that Care has from the deck in the Dry Elysian Grove and the Fight Guy from Avacyn Restored. What a really interesting match.
Yeah, Kara has had a massive run here on the MTGPL, and there's been a lot of questions of like, what is Kara doing so right, and like being able to just crush this meta. But I do, seeing here, I think Tensai's is mono black control lists here like. That was a solid play. It just shut down this deck. Like it wasn't even a chance when it came to it.
Really interesting. And so what we see here, right, is Tensai is going to be going on to go to the finals of the upper bracket. Tensai wins again. They will be locked in going into the final round and will have to be beaten twice, right? So the way that this double
Mm.
elimination works is if you win all the way out in the upper bracket, you'll face the winner of the losers bracket, or I'm sorry, the lower bracket. But have to get beaten twice. Tensai has been in that situation 3 times previously, I believe, or no, twice previously. I don't remember. I'm
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
invitational historian, let's be honest. But Care is nowhere near out of this. Care is going down to the lower bracket, but just cannot afford to lose again. We're going to really quickly be looking to see if we can get another match for y'all. If we don't, the plus side is we'll be going into the next round very, very quickly. It does seem that, ooh, are
We
the
have
letter the letter on the Bant Enchantress deck is going up against Malfi on pretty standard lands.
Oh yeah. So this is I'm pulling up deck list right now. Enchantress versus lands. Oh yeah, this is gonna take a minute.
This is really interesting. Let's pull up their list really quick. I apologize. I'm gonna need to pull them up myself as well.
Yeah, no worries. So like let's see here. So
We have R the letter on this Bant Estrid and Invocation Enchantress deck. We got to see this in round 1, going up against the green white or the Naya depths deck, whatever you would like to call it, up against
no,
Malfi. Of note, this is Malfi's first time on camera, and Malfi was actually the invitational winner from last season. Malfi was able to sneak in. The way that we do these is that the winner of every single invitational is immediately locked in. They can take the season off if they want, but then they'll be, of course, at the bottom of the bracket. Malfi did not take the season off, was actually actively playing with us, and is coming to us today with good old Urza Saga lands. This
this
deck is not one that has completely lost the Dark Depths combo, but is actually combining the Urza Saga Thespian Stage plan with the traditional Dark Depths Thespian Stage plan, which I love this build of lands so much.
Yeah, the ability to just really abuse Urza Saga to be able to just constantly grind out. And Urza Saga has this plan here of after the trigger resolves and you can create like two construct tokens, you can find an expedition map to just go and redo the whole thing all over again. So it's a very solid package. The fact that the Valakut explorations are relegated to the sideboard now really just shows you just how good this is.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
you just have an insane amount of lands, right? You're at the full 35. It is really interesting to see Val X taken out. When that card was first printed, we got to see it in lands. You just got to see the absolutely insane late game power. There was the combination of Valakut exploration and actual 1 mana exploration. Those cards in tandem with the Life and Loam was just insane taking over. The good old Chaotic Bear, our TO here today, is a little bit of a lands player himself and definitely has shown me the power of Valakut exploration. The Urza Saga package, we do have the standard Mox Diamonds, not really our tutor targets, but we do have the Retrobitter Foundry, the Shadow Spear, and the Expedition map. I
I
might be wrong.
love
I
the
don't
Shadow
believe
Spear.
these Urza Saga lands deck typically actually have the Shadow Spear in. What Shadow Spear is really good for is in Urza Saga's mirrors specifically, right? So when we're both making these tokens, I'm able to make mine just a little bit bigger sometimes, but then also specifically really good against Delver and any deck that's threatening your life total really quickly, right? Just being able to get it, put it on a 5/5 construct and be able to swing in for lifelink is honestly the real reason to have Shadow Spear in.
It has been my favorite addition to my Standstill deck that I've been playing. Having it as just a one of that you can find off of your second Saga is just so busted. It is. It just feels so good. Being able to just make your things bigger, and it just really gets through a lot of just the bullshit. Honestly, just so many like little blockers that just jump it. Hey, good choice in the basic land, Malfi. And we're seeing turn one exploration. Our letter had a turn one's Miri's Guile. Is that
Yep,
what we're
Miri's
going?
Guile. Yep,
No,
Miri's
is
Guile.
it? No, is which one's better, Miri's Guile or Sylvan Library?
Uh, depends on who you're talking to. I would say Sylvan Library. Is that is a little bit of a running meme in our Discord? Is the conversation of turn one Miri's Guile versus turn two Sylvan Library?
Here,
To
I have
be
the
totally
answer
honest,
now.
I have mad respect for turn one Miri's Guile though, right? And especially
I
in this
have
deck that's
the
able to get cast triggers off of it as well. But
so
here's the
I
question:
have the answer now.
which
I
turn one
have the
enchantment
answer.
is going to be better? What is the answer?
The answer is now Sylvan Library. Well, the true answer is neither because both of them just get wrecked by Prismatic Ending. But right now, I would say Sylvan Library because you at least need two colors to get rid of it rather than one.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's hard for me to play a deck that doesn't have Sylvan Library, and it has been for years now. If it ain't a green deck with Sylvan Libraries in it, I'm probably not playing it. So the of note here, are the letter was able to keep a 7, I believe, with Malfi going down to 6, which will be interesting. Um, the name of the game here is Life in the Loam. Honestly, are the letter is going to be able to absolutely grind out card advantage over Malfi for the most part, unless we're able to get a Sylvan Library in play. This is
Uh,
the sideboard games. We do know that R the letter is on the wish board, so the only actual sideboard cards that can potentially be brought in for the most part are the dress downs. We know from previous experience with R that R is really big on basically keeping in the living wish package and never really boarding them in at all. Where meanwhile, Malfi, on the other hand, does have the Force of Vigors that were very likely brought in. I could see
ooh.
potentially Red Elemental Blast, depending on how good Esther's Invocation was in the previous games, potentially not having been brought in though. Um, but that might be all, to be totally honest. Maybe Val X. I'm not quite sure what we're going to be seeing from this post board configuration.
So R has the Enchantress to like keep the engine going. Malfi, it seems, did not want that Tabernacle on the board. Understandable because it's not really gonna tax the mana here. I do think though, having access to Tabernacle is eventually going to be important in this matchup. Simply because of the fact that there are just enough creatures on here that an extra shot import doesn't feel bad. Ooh, and this
It's
definitely
interesting
helps that as
because
well.
at and spheres coming in. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense with how R is able to kind of not really storm off, but play multiple like 3 to 4 1 mana enchantments on a single turn and draw up an insane amount of card advantage. I'm not so sure how good it actually is, to be honest. So this Enchantress deck with all of the Utopia sprawls and all the cards that it's drawing, for the most part, you're never going to have more than 3 creatures in play. Your Sithises are legendary. It's
Oh,
unlikely that you'll have more than one Argothian Enchantress and maybe a Destiny Spinner. So
oh,
I can
hear me
see
out
not
on
really wanting
this.
it.
I hear me out on this. Now you have the sphere taxing the mana. You add in the tabernacle to keep taxing down at least one land. So I think there is some play to just like slowing your opponent down enough that they have to have the extra taxing effects, and that gives you time as the lands players to eventually just do your thing and dominate the board. Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to effectively remove this enchantress at all because this enchantress has has shroud. So you might as
Yeah,
well make it a Rashad import.
Potentially, the question is how much you need the mana as well, right? So, Malfi did crop rot for Yavimaya without an additional land drop, which is, I think, potentially another reason that Tabernacle was lost here. Um, where you need your own mana sources, right? We aren't getting any more land drops out of the exploration. Like, we need, honestly, we really need to hit a life from the loam and start dredging.
Yeah, definitely. Life in the Loam is going. Ah, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Target the
There we
Tabernacle.
go. This is what we were asking for. And yep, Tabernacle goes straight into the board. Great, straight onto the board. We have the Saga. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot.
Okay, the card advantage game is live now. So the one fear that we can potentially have right now is Living Wish for Bajuka Bog on our the letter side. These Miri Guile, of course, helping dig towards it. We did see a fetch land on the previous turn, so this is 3 fresh cards for R. If there's a Living Wish, you do need to have one of the cycle lands, which let's just double check that there are the cycle lands in here. There's one Tranquil Thicket that's castable right now. Is that the only cycle land in the
I
deck,
think
though?
that's the only one. There's only one Tranquil.
So,
I'm
ooh.
not seeing anything else.
There is also crop rotation. Crop rotation for Waterlogged Grove is technically another way to save the life from the loam from Bajuka Bog. So, but you are going down on resources additionally there. Of course, you're getting life from the loam, so it doesn't really matter. So it needs to be
Oh
crop
wait,
rotation or
we
the
got
sheltered thicket.
yeah. I was gonna say Shelter Thicket, not Tranquil.
Oh yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's just one of those when it comes to this sort of card advantage grindy ones. And I know lands flips between the two because Sheltered Thicket being able
Oh,
to
crop
cycle for
rotation isn't
one.
live. Crop rotation isn't a live answer to if we living wish for Bajuka Bog here because of the sphere.
Oh
So it would
yeah.
need to be specifically the sheltered thicket. It doesn't look like that's going to be happening here. A little unfortunate, right? That would be your one way of stopping the loam engine at the moment. It would make it so our the letter was not actually deploying much onto this turn either. But I think that if we had that line, we likely would be taking it.
Yeah. So
Yep.
oh
So,
yeah, there
so
are
caravantas, we would be tapping both of them for the crop rotation, and then go and get the waterlog grove in this line, which you need an additional mana source to do, right? So it needs to be one and tap sack the thicket.
Escher's Invocation coming into play. What are we gonna copy? Oh, it looks like a Wild Growth.
Yep, I like this.
Or
God.
sorry, Utopia Sprawl.
Or no, is it the abundant? I think it's copying abundant growth to get an additional draw trigger. The one that does not make
Oh,
additional mana that
okay.
is just fixing.
That makes sense. That makes
There are a
sense.
lot of land enchantments in this
Ooh,
deck, all right? They're all 1 mana in green, and they're all hard to tell apart.
we are hitting we got a really good dredge there. Finds Wasteland, Wasteland, Dark Depths, and now able to deploy Wasteland and Dark Depths. So you have game plan here. Do we have a Caracas in the we have a Caracas as a wish target, which you have play for now with Dark Depths on the board. So I think this might be wrapped up in Malfi's direction if Arletter does not play a piece to interact with the Dark Depths.
Yeah, this is difficult. So there is the potential of dress down having come in after the sideboard as a way to be able to block for a turn. That's potentially one way. The cast out is good as well if we're able to produce enough mana, which we are at this point, I believe. Yeah, where we technically are if we have it in hand already. There is that's it though, isn't it? Those are the only interaction pieces
Endurance.
and the
Oh, Solitude and Endurance.
yep, solitude
But
with living wish, right?
yeah, but I mean, if you didn't sideboard any of this in, like
I
you have to
can't
living
imagine we
wish
did.
for it. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, there's no other play
Yep.
piece of instant speed interaction besides cast out, and that's gonna cast you 5 mana, which you got one, two, three, four, five exactly.
Yep. So not going to
One,
be
two,
able
three.
to actually draw any deeper onto this.
Yeah.
Hovercraft, the issue with wishing for Caracas is because this wasteland that's on board, the Yavimaya being in play means that you're able to wasteland and
What?
then make the 2020 still.
Malfi, you just fired off that wasteland on the trop, dude?
Makes sense. You're not going to be able to, since that's the land drop for turn, you're not going to
Oh,
be able
do
to
we?
actually.
Does R the letter have a card in hand? Because if other letters hellbent, I can understand that, but like otherwise, I'm holding that up for like if in case my opponent goes like Living Wish, find Caracas, play it.
But the land drop's already been spent for the turn.
Oh, land drop was spent for the turn. Then never
Yeah,
mind.
it
Yeah.
was this land drop was spent on the tropical island, so you know that there's no Living Wish for Caracas. The wasteland isn't needed anymore. So Living Wish for Solitude is then the only way, but there was nothing after that point. Man,
Yep.
that was real quick. It turned like we talked about Life of the Loam, really good
That
card.
lightning
We didn't
loam.
really need the card advantage game because we just needed to find the dark depths, but we found it and there was no interaction. So I mean, there we
Well,
go.
that life for the
And
loam literally flipped over three of the best cards that he wanted. He wanted the wasteland for the Caracas that he knew would be coming in off of a Living Wish, and wanted the dark depths to combo, and literally had both of them and had the exploration to play both. So it was
yeah,
probably one of the best dark depths flips we've ever seen.
or the best
Oh, yeah,
whatever,
Dredge
the
flip.
best dredge. Well, we know what we're saying. We got this. Well, I believe that these are all the players who are still playing live in this round. So Malfi is going to continue going forward. Wait, was no? I'm sorry. Malfi was on the lower
Lower
bracket, I
bracket.
believe. Yep. This is the unfortunate part of the Invitational. This is now the round where we start seeing players basically get dropped out, people losing on the lower bracket and getting out here today. Big thanks to all of our players who came here today. So honestly, just being able to be here in today's event is a statement in and of itself, right? It's always hard to kind of lose out in these initial rounds and have to like sit on the sidelines, watch for the rest of the day. However, big props to Are the Letter and all of our other players who are losing out right now. There are, I believe, 3 players who are losing out in this round. 3 matches in the upper bracket, 3 matches in the lower bracket. And so we'll have 3 of our players kind of dipping out at this point, really unfortunately. But again, big congrats on making it this far and joining us on really the best day of our community.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out, and we really appreciate it. We are going to have round number 4 coming up.
Yeah.
Round 4 coming up here, and yeah, stay tuned. And do we have a do we have a hey? Do we know
Ooh,
what's coming up
can
next?
we see
Or
that? Can we see this bracket real quick?
oh yeah,
So let's see here. We so
uh
so this bracket gets a little bit confusing at this time. We can already see who's in the lower bracket for the round after this upcoming one. Those are the people who lost in the upper bracket today. It looks like that's going to be Care, who got beat by Tensai in the match that we watched, and then Rax, one of our resident players who has been here for every single invitational, taking down Dalibor. So Care and Dalibor do have this next round off to get ready for the next round of the lower bracket. It does look like the players who we have lost in this last round are the Letter, Mystery Inc. On its 4 Quirios and Frosty, all unfortunately losing out in this round. I apologize. It was 2 on the upper bracket, 4 on the lower bracket. Again, big congrats to these 4 players for making this far and for joining us today on this fantastic day, honestly. It's always great to get to watch all of y'all play Legacy and for us to get to kind of stream it for everyone as well. This next round, it is it is a little up in the air. We need to talk to Chaotic Bear about whether or not he is going to have the upper bracket finalists play this round. The issue is if they play this next round, then they'll have 2 rounds of buys that they need to wait for. The issue, of course, being Tensai in Dubai, it is already getting a little bit late for Tensai, right? And especially as we go later on, it can be difficult if we lose him for 2 rounds, right? It's just kind of like sleepy boy syndrome can come out. You know what I mean? We might not have Rax and Tensai play this round, so they have 1 buy. The winner they'll play, and then the winner will have a single buy to wait. But we for sure will have Hovercraft play against AHG and Pain Cow go up against Malfi on lands that we just watched.
yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. The stacks versus the lands deck. Lands has gotten like so much faster. So like back in the day, like the glacial slow game of stacks versus lands would have taken the entire time. But I think both of these players have like these instant I win the game buttons that can be pressed at either time, being that both of them are Dark Depths players. Though Malfi does have the advantage because the Thespian stage can snipe your opponent's Dark Depths, and just you get your own Dark Depths off just a Thespian stage. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup. I that's one that I'm definitely looking forward towards.
For sure. And then the Hovercraft AHG matchup. You may have mentioned me talk about one of our resident Ruby Storm players when I was talking about metagaming and the things that you can expect. AHG was that Ruby Storm player and came to us today with the one and only Ruby Storm. So we have Ruby Storm versus the Naya Depths deck that we had saw in the first round. So we'll have to see which one we're going to be watching first. It might be a good idea for us to do the AHG Hovercraft match because that's the one that I think is more likely to end quickly and we can then jump to the Malfi Pain Cow matchup. But we're going to have to see. Thanks again to everyone for joining us here today. We have Five more rounds of Legacy here today. I'm so excited. Next round, it is going to be myself in the booth, joined by Prez BOTW, who was spotting this last round. He'll be joining me for commentary. Doc's going to go ahead and get one match off, and then we'll be joining back Prez in the booth for the round after, I believe.
Yep, I'll be back in just a little bit, everybody. So thank you all for chilling, and we will be back in for round number 4 in just a second.
Take care, fam.